Thank you. We'll start with an introduction. Alderman Polumsky, would you handle item 2, please?
Thank you. Should they lead the pledge after roll call?
I'm sorry. Roll call first, yeah.
Usually
We usually don't do it that way. All right, well, let's go with the pledge first.
Thank you. We have some special guests here to lead us in the pledge. We can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. We have Field School Webelos Pack 26 and Conrad Fisher Webelos Pack 417.
If you scouts would like to come right up here in the front.
Jim's looking at flags over there, guys.
Flags over here. And if you guys, Scout Masters or Scouts, want to start us, we're ready to go when you are. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
I want to thank the Scouts for coming down, and they're going to sit in on the meeting for a little while. And at this point, I'll ask Clerk Spencer to please call the roll.
Hesse. Absent. Gutenkopf. Here. Leader.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
Bram.
Here.
Polumsky.
Here.
York.
Here.
Hipskin.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Levin.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Morley.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
Mulliner.
Here.
13 present, 1 absent.
All right, we have a quorum. Thank you. We have a couple of special presentations tonight. Superior Ambulance, David Hill, I believe, the president of Superior, will be making a presentation.
Okay, thanks. Oh, thank you. Should we start? Mayor, thanks much, and City Council members, thank you very much for allowing us to speak tonight. I also have with me a couple of our vice presidents, Kim Godden and Mike Tillman. So, as you know, as you may know, Superior. My parents started Superior in 1959 in a spare bedroom, and we moved to Elmhurst and started providing service here in 1960. And when we could afford it, we moved the family here. So we're always really stressing on high quality clinical and patient care, and that's why my father was a founding member of the National Registry of EMTs, which is an accreditation and training organization now that accredits all EMTs and paramedics across the country. I started working at Superior when I was 14, and I worked my way through the garage, and I worked as a EMT, dispatcher, paramedic. And in 1981, I bought the company. We had 5 ambulances and 28 employees. So today we operate in 4 states. We have 300 ambulances, 1,700 employees, and are still pleased to call Elmhurst our home. We began contracted paramedic service with Elmhurst in 1974. We became paramedics here in '74, but we've been providing the EMS here since 1960. And much of DuPage County also from 1960 to the mid-'70s, though generally under handshake agreements. As a part of our current agreement with the City of Elmhurst, we assume the cost and the risk of recovering from insurance companies, Medicare, and Medicaid. On the anniversary of our contract every year, we hire an independent auditor, comes in, looks at the accounts receivable, make sure we did everything right, and then from there we figure out how much of a check we're able to give you. And the last 2 years have been good, so we've been very fortunate. We're pleased to present the city tonight a check for $166,205. Thank you. You may remember last year we submitted a check for $250,000. The difference tonight is due to, unfortunately, a lot of people have lost their health insurance compared to the previous patients we transported the previous year. It's well over 100 patients more that have zero insurance. So unfortunately, it's a sign of the times, but we're still able to have been able to do this with a surplus. I'd like to point out that this model that we've been operating under may be the only model in the state right now where the municipality has zero cost, other than the great assistance we get from the fire department and their costs. But as far as the direct cost to us, you may be the only municipality in the state that has zero cost in the last couple of years. So we appreciate the opportunity. Superior has been a proud partner with Elmhurst for over 50 years, and I just want to, again, thank you very much for the privilege and the opportunity to provide EMS to my home community. Thank you.
On behalf of the city, thank you very much for the fine service and for the check, and we'll need a driver's license if we're going to accept a check from you. But otherwise, we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we have another very special presentation. We have a Medal of Valor that will be awarded to one of our police officers, and I'd like to ask our police chief, Chief Ruth, to come forward and make the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor Levin and distinguished members of the City Council. Elmhurst police officers are faced with unique challenges and make critical decisions on a daily basis. The department believes that providing the highest level of ethical and quality service to our community is the foundation of our core values. The Department Awards Committee is comprised of assorted members of the police department who conduct a peer review regarding the actions of our officers who have been recommended for recognition by their supervisor. Tonight, I'm pleased to concur with the recommendation of the Awards Committee to award the Elmhurst Police Department's most prestigious award, the Award of Valor, to Officer Rick Molis for his actions in disarming a man who was armed with a knife at the scene of a domestic disturbance. On October 15th, 2012, Elmhurst police officers were dispatched to a residence for a domestic battery. Officer Rick Morlis was the first officer to arrive and heard a man and a woman arguing inside of the home. Officer Morlis entered the residence alone to ensure the safety of the people who were inside. Upon entering a small bedroom, he discovered that a man with a knife moving towards three women who were inside of the room. As the man raised the knife towards the women, Officer Morlis acted quickly and without regard for his safety, used his taser to stop, disarm, and subdue the man to protect the women. Officer Molis is recognized for his bravery and for his attention to duty as he entered the home alone, confronted an armed offender, and responded properly to that threat. Officer Molis's actions are consistent with the highest traditions of service, dedication, and protection, which remain the foundation of the members of the Elmhurst Police Department.
I asked the officer if he wanted to say a few words, and modesty and valor both go together. But on behalf of the city, thank you very much. And that concludes my exercise portion of the program. At this point, we're on to item 4, receipt of written communications and petitions from the public. If anyone has such communications or petitions, please rise and deliver them to Clerk Spencer. He's going to speak public forum. All right, and before we move to public forum, I just want to recognize that Nick Peppers is our city attorney that's sitting with us tonight, despite what the name tag might say. At this point, we will... We're going to move to the public forum portion of our program. Clerk Spencer, do we have any individuals signed up for a public forum?
I apologize to try to get you off your mark there. Yes, Mr. Mayor, we do. We have 4 people sign in, and I'll start off with Brandon Opfer, and he's at 393 Madison Street.
And Brandon, if you just step over to the microphone over there. All right, that's fine, thanks.
Thank you guys first for letting me come out here. My name is Brandon Opfer, and I am a Boy Scout in Troop 82 here in Elmhurst. I'm here tonight to ask for your help in the promotion of my Eagle project, which I named the Buckthorn Project. The project is to remove buckthorn from the Salt Creek Greenway Trail, and it's located at 360 Butterfield on the south side of the street. This will be taking place on March 2nd from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I am working with Ken Heflin, and he is the parks supervisor at the Elmhurst Park District, and I would like help from the city of Elmhurst to help promote the project so we can get as many volunteers as possible to help out. So far, up to this point, I have received approval from the management company at that address to use their parking lot. I've developed a website and a Facebook page. Also, the Park District is going to promote my project through their email database. Next week, they're going to be sending out 8,000 emails with a link to my website. They will also reach out to their Adopt a Park volunteers, as well as other service-based volunteers here in the community. I have a sponsor for the Buckthorn Project, and am looking for more. Sarpino's will be providing pizza for lunch. I need a supervisor to provide drinks, and I also need a supervisor to provide leather gloves and eye protection for the volunteers. I currently have an email into Mel's Ace Hardware. I'd be grateful for any help the city of Elmhurst can provide, and thank you guys very much for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you. Yeah. Did you want to give us the website for your project? Facebook? Oh.
So I sent Mr. Morley a link rather than kind of give you a... I'll send it to the city manager and he can distribute it.
Very good. Thank you.
Next, we have Claude Pagash, 566 West Gladys.
My name is Claude Pagash. I live at 566 West Gladys. I see on the agenda we're going to vote on that rubber contract again tonight. If this passes, it's going to set a very bad precedent. Why would anyone that's asked by this city to bid on a contract even make the attempt? Originally 6 asked. 2 kicked out because they weren't big enough. 1 wasn't even looked at because he comes here with a lawyer and says It's a professional contract. And who wins the contract? Not the low bidder, because there's another technicality. So if you're asked to bid by this town, the odds are against you'll even come close to winning. I honestly believe all of those guys that bid could have sent in a bid that said they'd do it for nothing, and they couldn't have won that contract. And what did the public get out of it? By the words of the committee, it's going to cost this town an additional $700,000. And they're going to get either a choice of a 65 or a 95-gallon rubbish can that, in fact, hurts a number of people in this town. So again, you can vote for it. I know it's going to pass. As sure as I'm standing in this room. But I'll tell you one thing. If I was a contractor and asked by Elmhurst to bid on a contract in this town, I wouldn't even waste my time and money.
Thank you, sir.
Tamara Brenner, 137 North Caroline.
Tamara Brenner, 137 North Caroline. So I've taken a pretty strong interest in how things are progressing with the Addison Street Garage project. Looked into pretty much every publicly available piece of information that exists on this project, starting back in February of 2009 when there were 2 meetings in the City Council, during which was approved purchase and sale agreement and a development agreement to build a retail and parking structure at the site on Addison Street. After those 2 meetings, we didn't hear anything about it until December 2010, where before this council, the developer presented an update. They reviewed the initial plan, which was a 4-story structure, 1st floor retail, 3 stories of parking. And then they suggested an alternative plan, 6 stories, including 1st floor retail, 2 stories of office, and then 3 stories of parking on top of that. Last October 2012, we heard that there was a brochure being circulated by the real estate person advertising for space available in a 6-story building, 2 floors of office, 1 floor of retail, to be available for lease starting in the 4th quarter of 2013 this year, even though there's been no action taken by the zoning people in this city to approve a 6-story building. Now, it turns out there is currently a conditional use permit before the Zoning Commission. That application was filed in December, and the public hearing has been scheduled by the Zoning Commission to occur this Thursday, 7:30 p.m., January 24th. I looked at the materials that relate to this application from Arco Murray as well as from the city, and I learned today for the first time that there is an option to convert 46 parking spaces on the 4th floor of the 6-story proposed building to office space. That's news to me that there's been consideration by anybody in this process about having 4th floor have office space on instead of parking. So we went from a garage project with 1 floor of retail and 3 stories of parking to an office structure with 1 floor of retail, 3 stories of office potentially, and a couple stories of parking garage on the top. Have we lost sight of what the objective is, which was to solve parking issues in the city of Elmhurst? I'm really concerned about the potential for public dollars to be spent on an office building construction for private use, because part of the agreement you made in 2009 was that the city was going to not only purchase the land on which this is happening, but to pay for all construction costs. Even though the developer is going to buy back some pieces of it, the price for that was very, very low, and I expect it to be similarly low for this office space. Public dollars should not be used to construct a private office building, and I hope that the council will consider that as the zoning process moves forward. And I hope that any members of the community that are interested in how this arrangement is happening do attend the public hearing on Thursday night. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Last person to speak that signed in tonight, Todd Benson, 391 River Glen.
Thank you. Acting Mayor, Aldermen, Alderwomen, fellow neighbors, and city staff, good evening. I heard the young gentleman, I applaud working for his Eagle. He suggested that you can find out more about it on Facebook. They tell me you can find everything on Facebook. Well, I'm here tonight to make sure that all of Elmhurst knows this is the time to get ready for the 17th annual Elmhurst St. Patrick's Day Parade, that all residents and businesses are welcome to march from Wilson on Spring Road up north and through the Spring Road Business District. The parade will be on March 9th. We need your applications in by February the 23rd. Important to follow all the rules. The information is available with a link on the city website and springroad.com. The St. Patrick's Day website is elmhurststpatsparade.com. I encourage all of you to participate. I know it's an exhausting day in Elmhurst. It's also one of our great days. I look forward to seeing you all out there. Secondly, I understand and I hear great things that the city's interested in helping to market and promote the businesses here in Elmhurst. And the other evening, there was some conversations at one of the committees of bringing some city dollars to help best understand all of the businesses and keep a marketing database and working with the chamber. I think that's a great idea as a chamber member. I also support and have some leadership on York and Villette, and that group would very much like to be a part of this, as well as my interests and my friends on Spring Road would love to know about this, as well as the other parts of Elmhurst that may not be exactly aligned with some of the other organizations that might be included in this. So if we could just, if I can request from York and Villette and from the other associations that they find out what's occurring and how this is happening, that always helps. The more information, the sharing, I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much, and good evening to all.
Thank you. Clerk Spencer. All right. Is there anyone else that wanted to speak who did not get a chance to sign in? All right. Item 6, announcements. Do any of the aldermen have an announcement? Alderman Bram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alderman Polumsky and myself will be holding a Third Ward Town Hall meeting next Wednesday, January 30th, at the Elmhurst Public Library at 7 o'clock. And we'll have, as a guest speaker, Police Chief Ruth will be there in attendance. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Alderman York.
Yes, I'd like to remind everybody that Saturday, February 9th at 7 p.m. is the annual ECAF Casino Night. That'll be held at the Diplomat West. And tickets and information are available on the ECAF website. That would be ECAF4kids.org. It's a great organization. This is one of their major fundraisers. I hope that everyone can support them. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Hipskin.
Yes, I'd like to announce the Fourth Ward Town Hall meeting on Wednesday, February 20th at 7 o'clock, hosted here at City Hall. Please join us. We'll announce it again. That's Wednesday, February 20th at 7 o'clock. Alderman York and myself will be hosting a town hall meeting for the Fourth Ward.
Thank you. Any other announcements? All right. We'll move on to item 7, which is our consent agenda. Are there any items that any of the aldermen wish to remove from the consent agenda? Very good. Then may I have a motion and a second on passing the consent agenda in its entirety? Alderman Wagner, Alderman Bram with a second. Call the roll.
Wagner.
Aye.
Bram.
Aye.
Polumsky.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Hipskin.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Morley.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Pezza, absent. Gutenkopf.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
13 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
All right. The consent agenda passes. All items on it. I will now move to committee reports. Item 8A. The report on administrative, actually, Clerk Spencer, if you'll read the report.
Recommendation.
Yes.
Therefore, it is the recommendation of the Public Works and Buildings that the City Council adopt the rates as outlined above for refuge and recycling and sticker prices. It is further recommended that the City Attorney prepare the appropriate documents to allow the rates to be implemented on April 1, 2013. Respectfully submitted, Public Works and Buildings Committee, signed by Jim Kennedy, Chairman, Bob Dunn, Vice Chairman, Diane Gutenkopf, and Chris Healy.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Motion by Alderman Dunn, second by Alderman Gutenkopf. And will there be any introductory remarks from Alderman Kennedy or Alderman Dunn? Or
Go ahead, Alderman Dunn. Okay. Thank you, Alderman Kennedy, Chairman Kennedy. Just to summarize some of the key points on the report, we are about to enter into an agreement with a selected contractor for a 5-year agreement, refuse and recycling contract. This portion for this report is the administrative fee that allows us to manage that contract. Those fees that are in Schedule A total around $312,000, and thus the administrative fees that we need to add on top of the contractor rates. The target is to total up to that figure. Those types of services that are included in those administrative costs are the leaf pickup, street sweeping, some supplies, and then some city support to manage the contract. We looked at several scenarios for administrative fees. There are several different sizes of toters that will be introduced in this program. On the refuse side, there's going to be a move from a 35-gallon can to a 65-gallon toter. And then there will also still be the 95-gallon toter. In addition to that, there are stickers that are purchased by the residents for additional refuse over and above what would fit in the cans they're provided, and also a yard waste sticker that are used by the residents.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. So to looking at the potential scenarios, we could have the administrative fee for the 65-gallon and the 95-gallon be the same. We could have, or some other adjustment of that. What the committee settled on was to an administrative fee of $1 for the 33-gallon, 65-gallon size, and a fee of $2.25 for the 95-gallon toter. And with the allied waste rates that were negotiated, those people that are opting for the 65-gallon recycling, or I'm sorry, 65-gallon refuse bin will be seeing a slight cost reduction in their monthly rate. It will go down 23 cents. And with the $2.25 administrative fee on the 95-gallon toter, you're going to, those folks having that size toter will see a reduction of $1.25 a month. This proposal is a positive for every resident of Elmhurst. All are going to enjoy a reduction in their monthly fee with this particular proposal. So we would request that the council support this fee structure. It covers the administrative costs for the city, and in addition, the residents will see a cost reduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Dunn. Discussion? Alderman Bram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse my voice tonight. A few questions in regards to this. I do understand that the way the committee, as well as the full city council and staff has moved forward, was try to recover some of the costs of the city through the administrative cost of the waste program, the refuse program. My main question here is, it seems the proposal before us tonight is significantly increasing the yard waste sticker by doing a 85-cent administrative rate for the yard waste, which would take it to a sticker of $3.25 compared to previous years where the last, I think, 5 years or so, it's been $2.25. As well as the refuse sticker going from, once again, $2.25 to $3. I would like to understand the insight from the committee members in regards to why was the heavy burden put on the refuse and yard waste stickers in regards to the administrative cost.
Alderman Gutenkopf.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One key issue for us with the yard waste stickers was an attempt to ensure that we cover the cost of the annual leaf pickup that's free to residents. And having all the components of the garbage contract and the garbage fees cover the annual leaf pickup without putting that burden on people who, for example, don't put out yard waste, was important to us. We looked at sticker fees in surrounding communities and wanted to ensure that our fees were appropriately in line with other communities. So those two things came together to ensure, if you look at the spreadsheet, you can see the balance between what the projected cost for the leaf pickup is and what the projected revenue is going to be from sticker sales. We believe that we will sell significantly fewer refuse stickers now that many residents are going to move to a toter that will relieve them from having to put out extra trash bags. So our projected number of sticker sales from the current fiscal year is roughly 62,000. We're projecting that's going to drop down to about 20,000 sticker sales. So one of the tasks is to look at how to cover some of that same revenue with the reduced quantity of stickers that we're going to sell, again, keeping those prices in line with adjacent communities. So some of this is an attempt to ensure that everyone with a toter is seeing a reduction in their monthly fee for garbage, and at the same time using those stickers so that only the people that are actually incurring those wastes have to cover those costs.
Follow-up.
Yes, Alderman Bram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So is this a new, and please enlighten me, is this a new, I don't want to call it a policy to go to that extent, of using the yard waste stickers to try to cover the administrative costs, is what I believe, the administrative costs of leaf pickup, which I'm not sure exactly what the administrative cost of leaf pickup is exactly, but it does show that for street sweeping as well. And then the other question along the lines is, the refuse sticker and the yard waste sticker is more of a guess than the monthly rates that we would be getting for the 65 and the 96 gallon toter. So I think we're taking a little bit more of a risk by going along those lines of putting a heavier burden on those two stickers when we really don't know what the predictability is in regards to revenue for each of those.
Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In response to the two questions, first, the revenue generated from the stickers is not just covering the administrative expense, it's actually covering the expense from Allied as well. We are charged on a per ton basis for leaf pickup. That estimated revenue covers that charge that we anticipate getting from Allied based on history. So that's covering the, I guess I'd call it the historical tons of leaves that they pick up for us. So that is as best an estimate as we can come up with. Secondly, all of this, with the change in the contract and going from 33 to 65, all of this is based on estimates of what we think is going to happen. So the refuse stickers, we anticipate a large decrease in the sale of refuse stickers because the capacity now is much greater. So we estimated what we think is going to happen. Yard waste, a little more information, we're a little more secure in that, but the refuse stickers is more of an estimate based on what we think is going to happen. We discussed in committee, one of the things that we think is going to happen is because of the added capacity of the 65s and 95s, we think that the majority of stickers, we think this, we don't know this, we think that the majority of the refuse stickers are going to go to white items, large items, and we felt that raising that fee appropriately based on the estimates and based on what we think is going to happen was appropriate to throw out a sink, a couch, etc. That was somewhat the rationale behind the increase in the refuse sticker, understanding that we know there's going to be fewer refuse stickers sold because of more stuff going in the cans potentially.
Right. Anyone else? All right. Alderman Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commend the committee on the report and all the hard work that went into it. The question I have is more a concern, really, since we're moving away from 33 gallons now to 65 gallons. The elderly resident that relies on maybe a bag, 2 bags, tops, that fit very nicely in a 33-gallon. Does Allied provide any kind of alternatives, or is 65 it? To help them, more of a concern.
Alderman Dunn.
Yes, the way the contract's structured and the way we went out for bid was 65-gallon was the smallest. Those bags will obviously still fit in the larger toter, and in some respects they're easier to maneuver. They'll have wheels on them instead of having to lug a can out without wheels. And they're also a lot more stable. They won't blow over and won't fall over if they should get bumped into where somebody, in particular an elderly resident, might have a little bit harder time corralling that and getting it back in their home. So we do feel that could be viewed as an improvement for the elderly residents. And again, the cost will be lower per month for those people.
Yeah, again, I thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I commend the report in the committee. I was just, if we don't have a plan around getting a phone call from a senior citizen or two, we should. That's all.
Very good. Alderman Polumsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 comments. The one I was thinking maybe I would say when we get to the ordinance, but I'd like to speak to it as Alderman Wagner has. I have heard some concerns about the sizes of the toters, and I think, and listening to Mayor Levin say, let's all give it a try, and I think we should, but I also will be asking that we can more fully assess the need or the concerns with these toters. We've got the 2-year cycle for our city survey, and we won't have another survey for nearly 2 years. So I'll be asking that we have some sort of a small scope city survey to find out how this new program is working for residents. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
And one more, please. Thank you. Part of these administrative fees are covering the education about the changes that the residents are going to be seeing in their weekly garbage and recycling pickup. And I think to accompany that, it's an opportunity to provide a refresher on what's recyclable and what isn't. So I'd like to know, this is more for City Manager Grabowski, to what extent can we provide information to residents about what they need to do with their hazardous household waste that cannot be picked up by the hauler? Can we give information on a local hardware store that can accept light bulbs, or what kind of information can we share?
We've been working with Allied on a marketing piece that they're putting together as part of the program, which will go out to all the residents. And as part of that, I know Director Hughes has been working with Mr. Vandermolen to get not only a refresher, as you said, on the recyclables and what's recyclable, but also any local opportunities that we have to dispose of light bulbs and things like that, batteries. So we will try to put that together as comprehensively as we can, and we'll work with Allied to get that out to the residents sooner than later.
Continue.
Thank you. And I neglected to say, I want to thank the committee and staff for their work on this. I mean, there were a lot of projections that needed to be made, and I fully support the decision in this vendor and in the fee, so thank you.
Thank you. And I will note that we do have one of each of the new toters on display downstairs at City Hall, so that anyone who wanted to see what it might look like in practice, it's down there. Alderman Kennedy, did you want to speak on this?
Yes, if I could, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank the entire committee. This was a spirited debate, no doubt, especially with myself and Alderman Healy about how we wanted to approach the stickers. And I think to piggyback onto Alderman Bram's comments related to the leaf pickup, the costs and the revenue that we're going to be bringing in on that leaf is going to cover the city's costs for administering the annual leaf pickups. And in the end, every resident is going to see a reduced price in their waste services, and it's a win-win for everybody. So thanks to the committee, and thank you all.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Kennedy. Any other comment? All right, I'll ask for the roll call on this.
Dunn.
Aye.
Gutenkopf. Aye. Leader.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Polumsky. Aye. York.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Morley.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Pezza absent. 13 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
All right, the report passes. And we're on to item 9, reports and recommendations. As for my part, I received a call from Peter Daniels today from Elmhurst Memorial Hospital announcing their signing of a letter of intent with Edwards Hospital for a merger, essentially. He said it's, and I think all of the aldermen were forwarded copies of that press release. It's at the preliminary stages. There's going to be the negotiation of a final agreement, which will take several months, and I don't think we're going to see that come into play probably until sometime in the summer. There's a lot of pride here for Elmhurst Memorial Hospital, so I couldn't resist but ask what the name was. He said it will be Levin. No. They don't know yet what it's going to be. They did announce that the CEO of Edwards would be at the helm of the joint operation, so we'll learn more about that as it comes forward, but it's a big change for us. That's all I have today. City Manager.
Thank you. 2 quick items. As it says on the agenda, ComEd, the community update that they had planned to give us tonight is going to be postponed until February 19th. And I put a memo in the packet that explained why. They don't have the action plan for Elmhurst completed yet as far as improvements that they're going to make to the system within the next year. So ComEd wanted to be sure that they had that when they came to City Council, so we are putting that off until the 19th. And the second item that I have is just as kind of a heads up for everybody, the Mariano's construction is coming along very well. They are under roof now, and tomorrow they're going to be using a helicopter to put an air conditioning unit on the roof, which is going to necessitate the closing of York Road, the southbound lanes at approximately 2 o'clock. And it should take 15 to 30 minutes. So just so everybody knows what's going on, if you happen to be in the area, you see the helicopter, you see the road closed.
I'm sorry, what lanes, or from where to where? Would be closed?
Southbound York Road traffic lanes from Fullerton to Industrial Drive.
Thank you.
And our police and public works have been working with them to make sure that happens as well as it can. That's all I have.
Thank you. Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City Manager Grabowski, could you also request that when ComEd comes in and presents to us, that in addition to the plan for improvements, can they also give us an update on reliability over, say, the last 12 months, and then compare that to the previous 12 months? I'm looking for some measurement of improvement, the same, worse. I want us to keep an eye on actual numbers that we can look at, track, and know that we're either seeing better or seeing worse, staying the same.
We will do that.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else under announcements? Or updates, I should say. We'll move on then to item 10, and Clerk Spencer, if you'll read the title of the ordinance, please.
An ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of an agreement for refuge and recycling services by and between Allied Waste Services North America, LLC, and the City of Elmhurst.
Thank you. We have a motion on that. Alderman Dunn with a second. Alderman Gutenkopf. Discussion. Alderman Brand.
Just a couple points. I wanted to reserve my comments for the ordinance and not the administrative fees that we just moved forward with. As Alderman Wagner asked, and I brought up, I think it was 2 or 4 weeks ago when we first discussed this, I do have great concern, and I have received a lot of feedback in regards to the elimination of the 32 or 33 gallon garbage can. I've been waiting a while for this to come back on the agenda to speak to, coincidentally, that week after we discussed the report of this ordinance. I went up to Wisconsin, and as soon as I crossed into the Wisconsin border, there was a toter, 32 gallon, standing up straight and tall, not falling over by any of the wind. And if I wasn't going 45, I would have pulled over and taken a photo of it. I am disappointed from that aspect of this because I believe the seniors are going to be heavily impacted. And we're forcing people to utilize a larger size waste can when we should be encouraging recycling, as I said before. So I do concur, as I stated weeks ago, and Alderman Wagner's concerns here tonight, of the elimination and the impact on the seniors. Contrary to Alderman Dunn's comments, I think the 65-gallon toter will be more difficult for the seniors. It's larger, it's bulkier. They need to try to drag that out to the street. I know my 33-gallon that I purchased at the store has wheels, and I assume all current has wheels as well, so there's no difference there. I want, and I recommended when we first discussed this, the committee to review this very proposal in the upcoming year. I think it's essential, and I think it's critical for our seniors going forward. Excuse me. The other aspect of this that I wanted to touch on was to emphasize the need for recycling and decrease costs. I agree that this is a win-win from the aspect of all residents will see a slight decrease in our monthly fees for refuse removal. And that is a big impact, and that's why Alderman Pezza and myself made this recommendation for this to be reviewed. I think it's huge to see that, and I congratulate the committee for their work, the staff for going out to bid and assisting with that. But I definitely want to make sure that we do not forget one of the essential components, and that is the senior population and the impact that this may, and I forecast personally, will have on the seniors going forward. I do support the ordinance, so I will move forward with this due to the cost savings, but I think that component is something that I needed to bring up for a second time tonight. Thank you.
All right, and I'm going to just see if Alderman Kennedy has anything he wants to add as chairman of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly, this is not necessarily just a formality, but the conclusion of this effort where a lot of work was done by the committee to go through the bid process under Mike Hughes's tutelage, and here we are at a point now that we're having a savings for all residents. We've got a system where we have toters, which is going to be, from a safety standpoint, better for the Allied folks on their end, and certainly I think in the end will be a win for the residents of Elmhurst.
Thank you, Alderman Kennedy. Alderman Dunn?
Yeah, I just, a couple comments on some of the things I'm excited about with this new structure. We are, under the current system, if you look at the amount of toters we have out there, or capacity in gallons, between the two sizes, there's some 830,000 gallons. With this new structure, with the 65-gallon toter, estimating to be 80% of the residents, and the 95-gallon being about 20%, we increased that to about 880,000 gallons. Is that a big deal? I think it's helpful in some respects, but I think even more so is the fact that we are doubling the size of our recycling, the standard recycling bin. We're issuing 65-gallon toters, and that gives a lot more capacity to each household to be able to dispose of their recyclables properly. And I believe that will be an incentive and make it easier for those residents to do so. I know my household and a lot of other households with families fill up that small bin on a regular basis, and it will be nice to have a larger recycling can. So I think those are some very positive things with how this new structure is organized going forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Alderman Dunn. Any other discussion? All right, Clerk Spencer, if you call the roll on the ordinance.
Dunn.
Aye.
Gutenkopf. Aye. Leader. Graham.
Aye.
Polumsky.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Hipskin.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Morley.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Hesse, absent. 13 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
All right, the ordinance passes. Thank you. Item 11, other business to be brought before the City Council. Alderman Bram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The one item under other business I would like to bring up is what we talked about at our last council meeting, and I believe the Public Works Committee discussed at their last committee meeting last Monday. And that is in regards to the capital budget overview that we had 2 weeks ago, and the $3.2 million proposed project for the York Prairie Path underpass. What I want to bring up is I'm not wanting to speak to the issue itself, but I want to speak to the procedure at hand. I did read in the meeting minutes by the Public Works Committee that there was consensus, I believe, of not pursuing that in this budget cycle. Proper procedure would be that the full City Council would need to vote on this item. It is in the capital expenditure plan to date, and it could either be discussed and hashed out during the budget discussion, and therefore when we vote on the ordinance could be voted on at that time, or a report coming out of the Public Works Committee to the full City Council, and then we vote on it prior to or concurrently of the budget discussions. I want to make sure that the proper procedure is followed on that item, because it is not only a matter that should be stopping at the Public Works Committee, and I'm not alleging that they were saying that. I am just making sure publicly that it needs to be followed proper procedure for such an item, and have its due diligence done by the full City Council. The other thing I want to point out under other business on this same topic is in regards to the process that I believe, at least my understanding and my perception of what happened with this. I feel that the city staff should not have pursued this item until this has been through committee. I know some preliminary work was done. I know last meeting Alderman Healy spoke to the knowledge of this proposal. I know myself and others have conveyed that we were not aware of this proposal, and I think that before moving on such a large project, be it the grant aspect only, it should have been reviewed via a committee and therefore move forward through council discussion. I do understand by speaking with city staff that there were no money spent by the city on the grant application, even though Trans Systems was involved in the preparation of such. But albeit the time and energy of city staff is monies that were spent, and I feel that it should have went through committee before any of those steps have taken place, even the grant application. Thank you.
Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In response to a couple of Alderman Bram's questions, I don't know if Alderman Bram reached out to any of the committee members, but if he had, I think he would have heard from any of us that the committee meeting notes, which are a summary of what happened, were just partially reflected the conversation. The conversation at the committee about that project was that the four of us agreed that the timing of the project could and should be delayed. However, and Director Hughes was the one that was going to take this back to City Manager Grabowski, have a conversation with City Manager Grabowski so that the proper procedure could be followed, so that if it was going to be moved from year 1 to year 2 in the 5-year capital expenditure budget, that it could be done. So it wasn't the committee unilaterally deciding that it should be delayed. It was a committee's consensus among the four of us that we should be delayed, and that Director Hughes was going to talk to City Manager Grabowski so that it could come back before council and be moved appropriately. The reason I was aware of it, and a couple other aldermen were aware of it, is because it's in the 5th Ward. And we've had many residents ask us, at least I don't say we, I've had many residents ask us about that intersection. I've had many residents complain about that intersection. So the reason I was aware of it is because I've been talking to city staff somewhat frequently about that intersection, about what we could do. Nothing that was discussed last week is anything out of the ordinary that's been discussed every year during the 5-year capital expenditure budget review. That's what staff puts in. We approve it during the budget cycle, and we move on. We didn't put the project out to bid. We didn't do anything other than review the project, which I believe is what's supposed to happen. So I understand some people had some strong feelings about it, both on the council, and I was contacted by a couple of residents that had concerns. When I explained what the positioning, at least my position was, they understood it. But just because you don't like a project or someone doesn't like the project doesn't mean that during review of a 5-year capital that's going to happen. Of course it's going to go through committee procedure. Of course it's going to be bid. Of course the full council is going to approve it during the budget cycle. So I think we've got to be careful about overreacting to what happened last week, because I think what happened last week is exactly what's supposed to happen. And that the fact that all 14 of us weren't aware of it, there's things in that budget that I wasn't aware of. That doesn't mean I have a problem with them, but I'm aware of them now because that was part of the review.
Alderman Bram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for clarification, it seems like some of my comments were maybe misunderstood. All I was stating here tonight was procedurally, I wasn't making any accusations of what the committee was intending to do. I did read the meeting minutes. I did not contact any of the committee members. In regards to any alderman being aware or not aware of this project, to me that's irrelevant as long as there was no movement on the project. I don't believe I stated just now that this project went out for bid, because it hasn't gone out for bid. What I was referencing was, and I believe I stated it already, was that it did move forward because it did move forward from a grant perspective. And being a $3.2 million project, being, and I don't recall the specifics, a $1.7 possible million grant, a $1.7 million grant, that should be discussed by committee/council before moving forward on such a project. I think those are significant dollars that may or may not be applicable to other projects within the city of Elmhurst. That is what I was referencing. There was work done by city staff and Trans Systems on the grant application. Again, I didn't say that it went out for bid. I don't want any misunderstanding from that degree, but I think that it is significant that we follow procedure and that we make sure that before we move forward, even if it's only a small piece, and in this case I found out later that no monies were spent by the city of Elmhurst, but even before we take those steps, something of such significance should be discussed and approved by the committee/council.
Before we go anywhere, Alderman Kennedy, since you're being held hostage somewhere, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I'm going to defer to Alderman Healy. I believe he's got a comment.
All right, very good. Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I don't intend this to be a ping pong between Alderman Bram and myself. However, specific to grants, I can't recall, to be very honest with the council and the public, a time where a grant application came before the council before we got the grant. In that same 5-year capital expenditure budget is the completion of St. Charles from York to 83. We've got the grants for that. We're going to do that, but that wasn't discussed before the council before we did that. So I understand Alderman Bram's concern and others' concerns. It's not just Alderman Bram, I understand that. But I think that's what we want staff doing. We want staff chasing down grants for projects, and then we ultimately decide yes or no. And just because we get a grant doesn't always mean we do the project. But that doesn't mean we want staff to check with us before they chase a grant down. I see nothing, honestly, I see nothing different for the underpass potential project in what staff did. And by the way, City Manager Grabowski can correct me if I'm wrong, we didn't get those grants. Those grants aren't signed, sealed, and delivered yet. Is that correct?
One is.
There's a portion of it that the Transportation Committee did basically award to the city, should we choose to take it, for the Phase 2, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, Phase 2? We would have to, as the committee discussed last week, we would have to complete the Phase 1 to continue on with that.
Thank you. So in that case, we did have the grants approved, but some grants, portion of the grants, but I don't want staff having to get our approval or our okay to chase down a grant before they bring it to us. So for what the city staff spent to chase down that grant or the grant that we've gotten, I think that's what they're supposed to do. And the fact that it came up in year 1 of the 5-year budget, I understand that that might be a little outside the norm, a little bit, but you know, something like Mariano's that came up, that you know, what we did there, while it wasn't a grant, we were able to move quickly on that when it was the right thing to do. That wasn't in the 5-year capital expenditure budget. It was a project, it was brought up, it was put forth in the capital expenditure budget, staff presented it, we're the ones that are ultimately going to decide what to do. I'm done.
And Alderman Healy, you have the last word, or is...
You can have the last word.
Very good. All right, any other discussion under what we call here other business? All right, we'll move on to the next important item, adjournment. May I have a motion? Alderman Healy with a motion, Alderman Dunn with a second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Good night.